In this video, I'm going to go over the really specific but also useful and important topic of hitting people's tiny heads when they're far away. It's probably the most asked question I get. This tends to be both an issue with people doing aim wrong and also just with their skill not being good enough. I'll start with the mechanical mistakes I see since those are usually the easiest to fix. First of all, you want your wrist and fingers to be able to make adjustments onto the person's head. Making small fast adjustments with your shoulder is extremely difficult. If you look at all the joints humans have motor control over, your fingers and wrist are by far the most precise, and you need to be using those to make these extremely small adjustments quickly. If you're using like a palm grip and only aiming with your arm, then what that means is that you won't be able to make these precise adjustments as easily as you would be if you weren't. So you should be incorporating some wrist motion and some grip that allows you to move your fingers. Whenever I'm watching a VOD and I'm noticing that the person can't make their adjustment onto the enemy's head, I'll ask them what their grip is and how much they use their wrist, and usually they have a flat palm grip and barely ever use their wrist. Now, if this means that you have to relearn something about aiming, that's a good thing. It means that you'll see some progress fast, maybe even major changes within the next month. If for whatever reason you absolutely cannot make these changes, that's fine. You can still practice and get good. It's just a bit harder. Now, if you do fix your mechanics, that means that you have to learn how to hit people who are small and far away quickly. And if you're already doing everything right and still watching this, then you also need to learn how to hit people who are far away quickly. Now, before I explain how to do this, I gotta ask you to subscribe. It really helps me stay motivated to keep giving you guys the aim guides you need. Now, there's not a secret that I can tell you that'll make you instantly better and instantly able to precisely move your mouse. It's just something you gotta practice, but almost no one practices it well. So most YouTube guides I've seen are like out in the range or in some massive target Kovacs routine, and neither of these things are doing that much. If you want to get really good at making precise motions, you should be practicing making these precise motions. You should be aiming on targets that are as difficult or harder. Of course, any practice will help you, but it's the most efficient to be practicing on these really small, precise targets, especially ones that really challenge you and might even be harder than what you see in game. So you go into the range. There's nothing really that has the size or the movements you want to practice. You can only back up so far, so you just gotta settle with medium-sized targets for most of the practice. And also, people strafe a lot more frequently and randomly than range bots, so the movement isn't that good on these bots. So if you really want to practice this level of control, you should go into Kovacs or maybe another aim trainer. You can do a variety of different scenarios in Kovacs to practice this, though I'm not entirely sure if anyone's made something like this in AimLab yet, since to make a new AimLab task you have to completely recreate all the targets, you can't just adjust the size. Now, the scenarios I would recommend running are scenarios like WPV Ascent Multipeak, WPV ValFS, extra small Passu, and extremely small static scenarios. WPV Ascent Multipeak is basically just on a low poly version of Ascent. You will constantly be peaked from the different angles you can be peaked from, and there will be targets spawning in on some of the off angles people will play at. Movement speeds and acceleration for your player are the exact same as Valorant if you want to try moving, but for the bots they're smaller and faster and also moving a bit more randomly and jumping a bit higher just to make them harder to hit and a bit better practice. A good thing to keep in mind is that this was just set on Ascent just because Stark wanted to play around with Kovacs 3.0. It's not actually practicing aim for Ascent. You're not trying to prepare for the exact peak. You're just trying to get good at people moving around side to side that are really small. WPV ValFS is a pretty similar scenario. You're on a horizontal plane, strafing and aiming at people who are also strafing. Your movement is identical to Valorant while the targets are a bit smaller and faster. For this scenario, there is movement scoring, so movement is recommended, but if you don't want to do it and just treat it as dynamic clicking, that's fine too. I threw in extra small Passu just as an example of what a generic dynamic clicking scenario could look like. This scenario has pretty good bot sizes for what we're trying to accomplish. For static, where the targets aren't moving, for this kind of precision challenge, you can go a lot smaller, so I did, and I just wanted to show you guys what a scenario like this would look like. Now, keep in mind you want to feel like these are really hard and you're struggling to control your mouse and get to the targets. You'll improve faster this way because you're being challenged and really focused and making mistakes, and that's how your brain improves. If you need to increase the time scale because the scenarios are getting too easy, or decrease it because it's just so hard you can't hit a single bot, then that's fine. Also the same with the map scale. Earlier today I was talking to Maddie Overwatch about how I should be playing these scenarios, and he told me that you wanna, after a miss or two, just kind of move on to the next target, because your brain will just kind of get fixated on the misses and it just doesn't end well, so you just want to keep moving. Obviously stay focused on your misses and stuff, but if you have to flick off a target and you're not gonna kill it, that's fine. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more aim training content.